how to set up your iPad for, in particular, the DEC network. Okay, first of all, when you open up your iPad, this is an iPad 2 16 gig. It'll ask you to enable location services. Say yes. That helps us find it. If we lose it, we can use the Find My iPhone application, and when the iPad logs onto a wireless, we can actually find it. So I'll just explain that later. You have to find your network at that point. Now, if you're at school, you'll find it probably won't work. It does work, but it doesn't always work, so you might have to actually do this at home. So then you put your password in. So we put our password in and click join. So what the iPad at the moment is doing is jumping onto the network. Okay, we're logged in, so hit next. Now, I actually have a Apple ID for this already, but if you don't, you can create a free Apple ID. Sign in with the Apple ID. Perth Arts plus, what number is it? I number these, if you can see there, we've got our Oasis acquisition number there, 28, so I actually call this iPad 28. It's much easier for me when I do my stock take. So iPad 28, this is using, okay, so 28. Password, okay, there's the password, and I click next. Oops. Fairvale High Perth Arts plus 12, oops, at gmail.com. Now edit back in again. Okay, there's the, I'm going to hit next after that. Email updates, no, don't want that. Yeah, I agree with everything Steve Jobs and his crew says. So this will take a few minutes. Okay, it will verify, and are we going to use iCloud? I would say yes, and press next. Back up to iCloud, that's fine, yes. That means our apps will also go to the iCloud. Use Find My iPad, absolutely. That's why we did the location services. So if you lose it, you can find it again. Do you want to send anything to the boys at Apple? No. And start using iPad. Fantastic. You can see here I've just got my standard apps there at the moment. I'm going to go to General, and I'm going to click on Restrictions. I'm going to enable them. Let's say for this example, we'll use 0000. Don't forget this. This is really important to remember this password. Okay, now I'm in the restrictions part, so I can pick what I want. I wouldn't use 0000 or 1234, they're too predictable. I'm going to turn off Safari. I don't need it. YouTube, I'll leave the camera on. Turn FaceTime off, it doesn't work anyway. YouTube and FaceTime don't work on the DET at this point, only for teachers. Installing apps, if I'm installing apps I have that on. If I'm not installing apps and I'm giving it to a student, I'll turn both those off. Okay, the location. Now, at the moment it says allow changes, so I'm going to make sure they're on. My Find My iPad is on, and then I'm going to say don't allow changes, so I'm locking that down so kids can't access that without the password. Then I'm going to go into accounts. Now at this point, what I'm going to do first, I'll leave I'll leave those. Actually, I'll come back to that. Okay, so I'm just going to make that Australia. Does it really matter? Probably not. Explicit, turn that off, but that should be blocked by DET anyway, and you think that's got a pretty good filter. And turn the in-app purchases. That's if people want to buy things within the apps. So you turn that off. And require password. I'll come back and turn that off, but what that means is every time I go out of the App Store and come back in again, I've got to re-put my password in. Actually, I don't need to go to the App Store at the moment, so I'll do that. And that's it. So I'm going to come back in here to accounts later. What I'm going to do now is set up mail. So I'm going to set up a dummy mail address. This is only really for DET staff, so please don't really share this unless you're in DEC. And because I'm going to keep this unlisted and only share it in DEC networks. Okay, this is the Stu Hussick outgoing email. What we do is we go into Stu Hussick works in the Sydney region, has come up with a solution so students can, if there's a file in GarageBand or any of those other things or a photo, they can then email it to any account without having to put details in all the time. So I click Other. I'm going to add a mail account. I'm just going to call this as number 28, so I'm going to call it iPad 28. In the email there we type in, doesn't matter what you put in really, it's a dummy email anyway. So I'm going to put iPad 28 at det.nsw, this is the important part that's got to be in there, .au. Password, put in the word password. Next, it'll automatically put the description in there for you. Here we pop in mail.det.nsw.edu.au, and username was iPad 28, sorry. Then we come down here and we get smtp.mail.det.nsw.edu.au. Don't touch anything else, just hit next. This will take a while. It actually will take a while. You'll think it's locked up, but it hasn't. So I'll just wait. Okay, so it'll say cannot connect. Don't panic, just say yes. It's doing some more verifying. It'll feel like it's locking up again. So I'll just wait. Okay, we just waited for about a minute or so. So now we just click, don't worry about that, it's not an error. Click OK. Click next. Save. Leave all that, just press save. And it will add an account. Now here's the tricky part, you have to do this. You have to go back into the DET NSW, that's the account we created, the second one there. We have to click on the email address, scroll down to SMTP there, click on that. Click on that again, and where it says 587 you need to change that to 25. Don't ask me why, but Stu's worked out that's what we need to do. Okay, click done. Yes. Probably getting a lot more errors than I would if I was doing this at school because I'm not going through the DET network. So this will sort itself out once you get on our network. Press save and we're done. So that account now is set up. So I'll go back into general, and what I was in my restrictions, I have to put my password in, which was 4 O's. Don't use that, as I said. And what I'm going to do now is going to go back into this accounts, and I'm going to say don't allow changes. If you notice that over here, you'll see iCloud and Mail, they ghost out, and Twitter and a few other things. Okay. So I have all those off. The only thing I really put on the camera, I turn the Safari on and off between lessons depending on whether I want the kids to access it. There's no really need to have YouTube on it. It's blocked for students, and unless a teacher's borrowing it. But what else? So it's pretty safe for me to give my staff the password for restrictions, and then I have the master password to manage the accounts and all the iTunes cards and things as a head teacher. And yeah. Okay, so if I go back out of there now, and say I wanted to take a photo, just turn the camera around. Oops, sorry, turn the camera around, and I'll take a photo. Okay. Now if I go into, what I'm showing you here is how I can mail a photo. So the kid takes that photo, they click on the email photo, and they can put any email address in there and give it a subject and send, and that will go to that email address. Okay, because I'm at home, it'll probably give me an error. Okay, so I think that's all. The only other thing I would do every time is what I would do is I click on settings, and if you've logged in, what I tend to do is to go down here to reset, and reset network settings. So that way, any of my DET logins go away. So if I click on that now, and I go reset, because I've already put my password in, so that will literally reset every password and login and stuff and reboot the iPad. It's a bit of a pain to do that at the end of every lesson, but hey, if you want it to be safe and you want it to be secure and you don't want a kid logging into your password, logging into your account using your password, then that's the best way to do it. It also protects other students as well, because quite often other students log in and then I logged into an iPad and it had someone else's login already and I could already access the internet. So by resetting that network settings, all you're doing, hopefully we'll check, is yes, see we've still got all those things blocked out and we haven't changed any of those. Have a look in there. It's all still the same. So all you've done is reset all the network settings and passwords and things. Okay, so I hope that's helped you set up your classroom iPad. I'd like to thank Stu Hasek from the Sydney region of the DEC who gave us all the email solution, and then all the other staff who on Yammer who've also sort of collaborated in helping to get this to where it is at the moment. Okay, I'm back at school now with iPad 28 again, and what I need to do quickly is just take those restrictions back off. I'll show you why. Put the 4 zeros in again. I need to turn Safari on, and I'm going to whack in installing and deleting apps. I'm sort of playing with some of my apps at the moment, so I'll duck out of that. Now, if I find Safari's now appeared, so if I click on Safari, and I'm just going to type in there test. Oops, here we go. Okay, so it's finding NSW DEC. So we click on that, and it'll say, do you want to join the network? You say yes. Give it some time. Okay, then it's going to ask you for your password. So on the first time you do it, you need to put DET NSW, and every time after that you shouldn't need to do that. So let's see what happens. Okay, and then you get this certificate that you need to install on the machine. So I'll say accept. This will only happen the first time, and hopefully yes, it's accepted it. So if I close out, Safari was there, doesn't it? And I go up to test, it might still not connect. Okay, so what I need to do now is to go in and put in my pack file. So I go back to DET and I go down to, now there's two ways to do it. This is the way I find best at my school, is to go to auto, and in here I type in http:/, now it's pack.schools with an S, don't forget that, that's where a lot of people make a mistake, nsw.edu.au /schools again, /. Now, this is usually the end of your school website. So the end of our school website is Fairvale -H. -H. Okay, so it might be -P for primary school, depends on your school. Ask your IT guy. And then I just put .pac. Okay, so that's the pack file. Others don't need the pack file, but at our school, ours is pretty heavily locked down, and that's what you need. So if I go out of there now, and I go back into Safari. Oops, that's the settings, don't worry about that. Okay, go back into Safari. Oops, and we go. Okay, it's asking me, so now I put my password in. This time I shouldn't need DET NSW. Okay, let's see what happens. And I hit enter, and we have internet. So that's how you do it through the DER wireless. Okay, so that's setting up your iPad so it has internet access. What are we going to do next is installing the apps. So when you click on the App Store, you can do it through your iPad the normal way. So for example, if I want Adobe, what do you call it? I'll just type in Adobe. That's the one I want. Now, see how it says install? That means I've already downloaded it, even if it's cost me money. So this one here, if I click on, that's the really good version of Photoshop actually. That's great if you're looking at using Photoshop. That'll cost me $10.49. That won't cost me because I've already paid for it, although actually I think that one was free. It is free. So install it. So I'll just put my password in. Okay, and now it's coming down. And yep, there we go. So if I hold that and click it and drag it back to my front screen, I have now started downloading my apps again. I had to actually reinstall this iPad from scratch to show this demo, but I had already installed a lot of apps already on it. Okay, so there's that. Now the next thing is, what happens on a weekend when you find a wonderful app and you don't want to have to install every single iPad. So you don't have to plug this one in and the other one. I've got 10. I don't have to wait till I get to school and plug them in. And sometimes apps are free at the moment, so you want to make sure they might only be free for 1 or 2 days on special or something, so you want to grab them while you can. So how do we do that? iPad 28 over there. Then if I click on iPad 28 and you click on apps, you can see all the apps that are on there. Now the reason I can't access it or sync the apps, I can sync the apps, okay, is because I'm not signed into the App Store. So it's telling me I can actually, but what I want to do first is I want to go to the App Store. So I go iTunes Store, and we need to go up to this top corner here and sign in. So what I'm going to do is, this is if I have 10 iPads and I want to install apps over a weekend, or when I'm not at school, or even without the iPads because they might be in the storeroom or locked up and you just don't want to have to physically get them all out. So I'll put in my Apple ID for number 28 and let's see what happens. Okay, I'm in the App Store. So at the moment, if you look up here, I'm under my 28 and I have $30 credit left at the moment on the iTunes card for that one. So whatever apps I download, if I go to the store and I go to App Store and say I look and I go, oh, London 2012, it's free, I click on that. Where is it? Which one do I want to do? Results, that sounds like a good one. And you can see it's downloaded. Now it's downloaded to the computer, and the next time I plug my iPad in, next time you can actually then download it back from the cloud. I actually have my iPad plugged in at the moment, so that's this is, you wouldn't even have to have the iPad plugged in to be able to sign into your account. Now if I want to sign into, say, number 29 and get the same app, I click on that and then I can just change that simply to 29. Then I'll put my password in. Okay, I've got my password in. And if you look up in the top right hand corner, number 29 is now in, and it's got $30.54 credit. So for example, if you have my email at gmail.com, that would be the master email, and then if you put a +01 and a +02 and a +03, etc, 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 what it means is all those things that you buy from the Apple Store, so each iPad will actually have one of those addresses allocated, and whatever you buy will come back to that first email address, so the accounts. So if someone says to you, you've just spent $500 in iTunes cards, where's all the receipts, you can literally log on to my email at gmail.com or whatever you set up, and all those receipts would have gone to that one account. That's a fantastic solution, again by Stu Hassick, and definitely worthwhile, because you can't buy one app and put it on 5 machines with one email address. That's actually against the law. Okay, so that's why I do that. So at the moment I started, as I said before, I started at 27 up to 36, because they were the back of my acquisition numbers, and I literally can buy anything on those cards and I'm completely accountable. And if anyone asks me, I can just literally give them the email address and all the receipts are in there for those things that I've bought on iTunes.